My name is Irshad. I have been associated with Hashed Emergent for the longest time, that for about 4 years, and which I recently exited. I was leading platform there, and that's where I was hosting a lot of different initiatives on ground, different kind of activations, etc. I also led the India Blockchain Week conference for 3 editions. So that's what I did. Denver?
Yeah, so I'm Denver. I'm co-founder of Devfolio, also co-organizer of the ETH India set of hackathons, fellowships, and much more since 2018. And recently also been helping the DevCon team with stuff on ground here in India. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Nidhi. I was working at the UNICEF before, and I was very interested in learning about how to take blockchains to people who don't understand it, governments, non-profits, and that's what we do at VoiceDeck. And now I'm also helping the DevCon team here. This is our, like Shahrukh said in Chak De, this is our 70 minute, you know. So we have to make full of use of these 70 minutes that we have when DevCon comes to India. So yeah.
Cool. So the agenda that we have for today, we will be covering topics around grassroots adoption, what that means to each of us, how we seen that evolve. We'll be touching upon the regulatory environment, which is something very important to talk about. And then we'll be talking about users and builders in the Indian crypto ecosystem. And we'll be touching crypto as a public good in a developing nation, where we talk about concepts like retro PGF, as well as decentralized funding. And finally ending with, where do we go from here? So maybe we can get started first. Who'd like to go first? Should I?
Yeah, I can set some context. So like, yeah, when we talk about all of this, like, and like, first of all, like this format is like a little new for us. It's like it's a no moderator sort of fireside. So we just thought that we'll keep this format more like a discussion between the three of us. Similar, like we were having a discussion before this backstage, and we're just continuing the discussion here. And hopefully we get to share our thoughts with you, and then you also let us know either at the end of the panel, or eventually you let us know what your thoughts on the discussion are, right? So I think like Irshad will focus on a little more on his experiences with the growth story, and I'll focus a little more on builder stuff, and Nidhi can speak from her experience on the governance side as well, right? So to kick things off, like my thoughts on the India story are that in terms of use cases, I think we don't have super obvious answers here. Just getting that out of the way, we have a relatively stable currency which does not depeg. It's probably not like the best, but it's quite good, right? You'll find that it's not like in a very volatile situation. So our purchasing power does hold. We are able to make future plans on how our money, like, I know that the cost of my pani puri is not going to change much in the next week or in a month from now, right? So I can plan as per that, right? And also on the other end, like it is fairly easy to send P2P payments within India, thanks to the stellar network of UPI and our strong fintech ecosystem, right? So then comes to what do we want, like what do we see as India use cases, and here what do we see as opportunities? The most obvious thing that most people also point out to is the strength of our developer user base, right? We are the second largest community on GitHub, and fast growing, have millions of developers here, right here in India, and they're all like technical and building products, have the capability to build digital products, right? So I think that is very exciting for me personally. And how do we take care of, like, how do we benefit from that sort of human resource? I'd like to ask Nidhi, what are you generally most excited about in terms of when you think about the India story?
Yeah, like you correctly said, we have DevConnect and were in Argentina last year, and there it was bring Argentina on chain, and there was a clear use case as to what this technology can do in Argentina and is doing there. But here in India, it's a very unique case. Like Denver mentioned, we have a good currency, we have good fintech, we have payments are happening good. Then what is India's story? I think for me, it would be like pitching Ethereum or this blockchain technology is an infra layer which is complementary to, in some way, the digital public infrastructure we already have, and it's strong. The open source communities that are working, you have ONDC, which has released a Namayatri, you have NPCI also working on many open source technologies. So I think my thinking right now, it's, by the way, a very open question, this, and we are soliciting answers, and hope you all also think more about this and come to DevCon prepared with answers and more questions. But for me, the direction I'm thinking about now is, given Ethereum's new focus as well on the crops, as Vitalik tweeted about, and the whole open source mandate, this is a very practical entry point, a very low-hanging fruit, and it works well. So I think technically, I'm not a technical person, but technically, if we have to pitch Ethereum, that'll be a good entry point, the DPI institution, especially the government-backed ones that we have. What do you think, Irshad?
Got it. Yeah. So I think I agree with what both of you just said, right? Like, one of the most exciting things for us is the developer powerhouse that we have. Statistically, I think Electric Capital said it was some 17% of new developers who come in are from India. And on the other side, we also spoke about, we were talking about Chainalysis' report that came out. Chainalysis ranked India #1 for 3 consecutive years in adoption. What that means is, like, on certain metrics, etc., it was ranked #1. You know, that cannot be ignored. That's a big number. So I feel that things have been really positioned well for us. Okay, there is users, there is developers, and frankly, this is the kind of thing that I've been seeing when we pitch to sponsors for IBW. I'm sure, like, that's what you also feel. The interest that you hear from them is, hey, we are interested in the developer ecosystem in India, or the users in India, and that's frankly what's been coming out. And so it's been a strong one, but where I'd like to take this conversation a little more is then, okay, how are the other things? Like, when you talk about grassroots adoption, how are the other things? Yes, these 2 elements are good. Then we talk about startups. It is, we have a number of about like 1,000 plus, 1,200 startups overall, right? Now, these are founders from India, founders who may be in different parts of the world right now, but that's the number. But if I were to, like, ask you guys to, like, name how many other very successful ones, of course, we'll talk about Polygon and a few other stories, right? InstaTap and Bioeconomy, etc. But we tend to stop after a certain time. So I feel that that's one of the things we need to talk about as to, like, okay, why do we not see this developer count that we have, which is crazy. It's the 2nd largest dev market for Web3 in the world. Why aren't we then seeing, a proportionate amount of startups coming from this market? So that's one of the things I think that maybe we can touch upon a bit.
Yeah, like from my understanding, the biggest thing is from the sort of pipeline from the very early stage builder to founders is a little broken, right? Now, for a long time, the understanding of most people, like the introduction to Ethereum or even to broader Web3 to a lot of developers in India has been through hackathons, right? And now hackathons have been, I mean, they are great. Like, of course, you get to try new technologies and build cool stuff over a weekend. But I think what it has also done is also frame this that, okay, you're building just to to fulfill the objective of getting a prize, right? And now what that does is that you're just building products for the sake, literally for the sake of building up, like winning a prize, rather than actually trying to solve a problem. So there's not much thought put into what
the
problem,
business side.
what is this even feasible, right? And I think now, like you will see, 2026 is a very interesting sort of market where almost all of Web3 companies are shedding all pretenses of now everybody is talking about business, right? Now everybody wants to talk about founders. So how can we help more of that happen? There are two main parts of it that, like, there are two options. Like, sitting in India as a founder, you have two options. Either you're sitting in India, you build for India, or you're sitting in India, you build for the world, right? Sitting in India and building for the world is turning out to be an option that a lot of people are choosing, and we're getting some success. Sitting in India and building for India is becoming a little bit of a closed option. And I'll let Irshad also talk about it a bit.
Yeah,
right?
something I'd like to add on that's a very good framing, by the way.
Yeah.
And the latter of sitting in India and building for India, voice tech, my husband and I, Devansh, and I started it. We are Indians. This product is for India. But I think there are two hurdles. One is that, like you said, the problem statement is not defined very well. Like, we didn't start this product in a hackathon. We started out of our lived experiences. We felt like fundraising in non-profits is not sustainable, and it's not driven by impact at all, or by outcomes at all. So there was a clear reason for us to build this product. And I feel like from the public sector side, or even the private sector side, there should be more of these platforms like hackathons, where there are very clear problem statements defined. Either in I've been in talks with the UNICEF, my colleagues before this. They are like, we have problem statements. We just don't have the technical capacity to build a product around it. So can we have hackathons that are focused on, say, just helping define that problem area one, and especially from the government side. We are seeing like METI has released their Blockchain for India challenge, and if you see their website, it's very well bracketed into these are the supply chain, public health, and different things. That's good. That's a welcome change. But that was definitely a hurdle of building, being an Indian and building in India. And secondly, also from the regulation side, it almost feels like criminals in our own country. For the longest time, we were earning in crypto, and we had to go in some Bhuleshwar market and then get some very shady way. Get it. Sorry, this is on record. Hope the government doesn't come. But see, again, you're always like, you're being a criminal for not doing any criminal type of activity. But there are those two hurdles in the second category.
Yeah, I agree. I think to double down on Denver's point, right? Sitting in India and building for the world, I think, one of the things that I've seen is the startups that become more successful when they do this is when they have really good global network, right? They have connections across the globe, good access, because I've seen that being a difference in okay, the startups that do well out there in the world versus the ones that do not. The ones who have that crazy good network, good access, always end up doing better, versus a lot of Indian startups who think they may be building for the world end up just working on, an X for a Y chain sort of a model more than, anything very novel and original. So one of the things I would love for every founder or, other ecosystems here to, to do more is create more global pathways, more interaction, more engagement with the global community, and we reduce the gap as much as we can. And there's another point that I'd like to touch about what we started this discussion with which is why aren't the dev counts converting into startups? I think another one major reason is access to risk capital. Now, the ones here, we know how difficult things has been. So there are two ways to raise capital, right? You can raise it from the public market and private market. Let's touch upon private market. This is your VCs, etc. But because of regulations being tough, the Web2 VCs have hardly been putting in money. Yes, they have been earlier, but right now, how many VCs have been putting money, enough? So this sort of leads to lesser experimenting, lesser risk capital being available, and then the results that we see. Another way to raise funds, that's a second way, is the public market. Now, here's an important thing I want to address is, I've generally felt that if you want to raise from the public market, you have to be good with narratives as well as good with access or network. Because at the end of the day, you're convincing people from different parts of the world to believe in the project that you're building, and you have to be good at storytelling. Indians have generally been very good at product building, but when it comes to like narratives, etc., this is where we become weaker. So I think that's one of the areas that we need to focus on. And number two is having that kind of access, right? Like again, when you're raising from public market, then you need to know people, listing managers from exchanges, people from market makers, etc., from across the world. And that is where I feel, that's why I keep saying that, okay, if someone had more exposure to the global markets, especially in countries like US, etc., where there's so much risk capital available and there's so much more innovation happening, I think that sort of can close the gap. So this is just my opinion that, okay, maybe like more risk capital being available for people here could have led to more number of startups coming out of India.
Yeah, I think in like going back to today morning when Pareen's talk also touched upon this, I think even if the capital does exist, it's at the end of it comes down to go and talk to your users. Is your product actually going to work? Is it not? At the end, that retention metric that he spoke of is a powerful idea, especially.
No, I agree. I think in that market, people will look at those things because now capital is abundant. Right. Okay, what do you do with that capital? But here, like there are just handful of VCs who are investing, and that to such small sizes of fund. The people are not getting enough opportunities to play the game firstly before even thinking about users, right? So I think hopefully, like maybe regulations opening up can.
Yeah. So so for India, that's a little bit of a blocker, right? The regulations bit, and hopefully along the way, by the time of DevCon, we make some progress, and at DevCon for sure. I'm much more bullish on people sitting in India and building for the world, because once you understand the market landscape and understand what kind of problems that you can solve, I think Indian builders are uniquely positioned, because here people are not afraid to get technical and get into the weeds, right? I have met like over the years now, and even recently, like we did a trip to Delhi before coming here, and that was a reminder about how I met some really sharp builders, and they really knew, like they were solving like stuff like infra level stuff, like on cross chain, like bridges and some super like niche markets, but they understood that there's a problem to solve, and they were not afraid to do that, right? So the interesting thing is, like when you think about, so I've started thinking about crypto as open source finance, right? If you think about DeFi, it's just open source finance. Now, when you go to a bank and everything, like you give your money to a money manager and they manage your money for it. But it's sort of closed source. Once it's out of your hand, you don't know what's happening with it. You're just trusting somebody to do something with your money, and you hope they give you a good rate of return at the end, right? But then you don't have so much control over it. Here, what if all of this is super open and you have instant access to global markets, right? Sitting in India, like you can trade like, global stocks, right? Yesterday I was talking to somebody who was like trying to solve something for you can buy, you can buy like tokenized gold or metals, right? And that's such a big opportunity, right? India, already we know that India is like recently I read a report that I think like India gold reserves are rival those of Indian consumer gold reserves rival those of the US, right? US country itself, right?
So that is dependent on the regulations opening up more,
Yeah.
right? So all the RWA opportunities in India would have to be tied to like.
Well, if you want to sell to Indians, yes.
Okay. Saying like,
If you want to build global stuff, then you can, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So like people
yeah.
so I was talking to people like Irshad app and all. They ended up, because they were below 18, they were using DeFi before they started using TradFi, because TradFi, you need, like the banks and all would just ask so many questions. They're like, hey man, I don't have so much patience. That's why I'm more bullish on like the Gen Z folks. Their lack of patience might be the thing that we need, right, to innovate. And there's so many things that people are thinking about. Even things like tokenization, right? I was having a chat with Nidhi, and we were so happy when we were like, okay, there is this MP who's talking about tokenization, right? And
the chief, Raghav Chadda, right?
Yeah.
Raghav Chadda went on that. If you all have seen his speech on YouTube, I think we all related to that. He was kind of speaking our language. Are ye correct? This is right. And we have other champions also of such character in Maharashtra as well. There's the chief economic advisor to the government of Maharashtra. He's also been saying let's tokenize Maharashtra. Bhutan is doing great stuff. That's another story.
Yeah. So it's more about defining these problem statements, I think. Even with I mean, you can make a lot of opinions about what politicians say, but I think the framing was right. Like, India has a lot of land assets. What if we can tokenize it, right? And then if you think about tokenize it, yes, crypto is good architecture for doing that, right?
Yeah.
So that can be part of the things.
Agreed. Okay, so I think we should just move to one or two other topics for the last 15 minutes that we have.
Yeah.
One is regulations. Before we probably like jump into, okay, like what is the hindrance that it's causing for crypto? Maybe just for those who may not be fully aware, I'm just going to like quickly give you a glance of what regulations in India look like, right? There are 4 key events that you have to remember, which was from 2018 to 2020, there was a crypto ban, right? This is by the RBI, which was lifted by the Supreme Court in 2020. And then in 2022, taxes were introduced. So we have 30% taxes and gains, 1% TDS, all of that. Then 2023, crypto becomes a little, I mean, the FIU comes in and they're like, okay, we need to regulate all the exchanges from outside. And 2023, same year, for the G20 presidency that India led, they did bring up this topic saying that, oh, we should all collectively thinking about making, some regulatory framework. So we came from almost, like a straight up ban to like slightly better position. I mean, it's not the best position, 30% tax. All of these are sin taxes, right? This is what like gambling probably gets. But so now just coming to you guys. So this is the background that we have. How much of a hindrance do you think there is because of regulations? Where exactly is it affecting founders and builders and Web3 through unlocking in India?
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm just like, people don't want to deal with uncertainty, right? So as a founder, especially, your number one, like you have to deal, every day you wake up and there's so much uncertainty, right? Like you don't know whether you have, whether you can be, whether in 3 months time you will be able to pay your employees your salary. They're making plans based on that. You don't know what your competitors are doing. So you think, okay, maybe I should keep a track on that. So you have to do all of those things. But at the same time, if you are also in another fear that, oh, like I'll be working in the middle of this, like I will have some sort of government entity come in and like shut my shop down or freeze my bank account, right? That's the first thing that happens.
You have to move to Dubai.
Yeah, then I just like, welcome to Dubai, Habibi, right? Like I just do that. but yeah, that's also. But now the Dubai is also like a problem. If like my plane can't land in Dubai, I don't know what I do. So the regulations are causing these kind of problems. If there's some sort of certainty, then it will take a lot of load of founders' minds. What do you think the regulators are looking for? Like, do you have like what do you?
I don't know how to say this nicely, but there is a thought that has come to mind, and we have discussed this also. I feel like Indian regulators and the Indian public sector government ecosystem has a way of like pulling you down to their level of mediocrity. Sorry to say, but I feel like innovation in India is really dying because of this gravitational pull towards mediocrity. It's really sad, and the lack of stricter regulations and all of these add to it. And okay, we understand it's a capital control economy at the end of the day, and you have to regulate it. But this lack of regulation, of the stricter regulations, is just makes it even worse. And so innovation in India has never been, like, in my perspective, seen it very closely, is that it's not about creating something new or something that's creatively disrupts the system, but it's something that just replicates what is already happening, and we give you scale. I feel like that's what it has come
I think that's
down
why, that's a point that Denver started with, saying that then people stop looking at India native problems and solutions. Now you're just solving for the world, because regulations here are tying you down, right? Yeah, and I think another point that came to my mind is this also discourages good, strong talent from the Web 2 space, be it founders, developers, to come venture into this, because who wants to get into this ambiguity, right? Like, okay, you may end up building a product today. What happens after 3 years, 4 years? Like, is your time, is that the best use of your time? So, yeah, it is issue. And I think the capital thing is another thing. Imagine it just unlocks all the capital, right? Like right now, all of that capital is just not coming into where it should. I mean, if you look at the startup market in India, otherwise, we're insane. We're the third largest startup ecosystem in the globe, with what, 125 unicorns. That's how big we are. That's how much money there is, even from the VCs, etc. So it's just because of regulations that it's not flowing this side.
Companies that have made it big have to have the blessings of the government and big people in the government. And in every sector, you pick up the newspaper now, the semiconductor space as well. My brother-in-law is a chip developer, and he is extremely into semiconductor. He came back to India from the US after 10 years, thinking that he'll start his own company here. Had a really horrible time, because all of the contracts, everything is going to the big fours, the Tatas or the whoever, the name it, them, and you see it in this space as well. And it's again the same thing. The chips that they're making with these is there's nothing new in this technology. It's what has been happening. It's like a Starbucksization of innovation in India. Just get that concept, yahan pe dal do, scale kar lo, that's it. Yeah.
That I think the fixes here, right? What sort of fixes should come from regulation perspective? I think, at some points, one has to be the tax. It has to just be normal, right? Like just any other thing. And clear distinction between how do you regulate like a service provider who's an intermediary who holds sets of people versus regulating a protocol who has no control over like code, right? I think some of these, is there any other point that you can think of that can make it, I don't know, like banking access? Banks should never say like no to crypto companies when they go, because there's still concerns about it, right? Indian banks not being okay with, oh, you're a crypto company.
Like I think I was having a chat with somebody who's experienced with especially in the fintech space, right? Because if you think that like it's just a crypto problem, even fintechs face regulatory problems, right? Yeah, so like crypto is like just added layer of difficulty. So I was talking about fintech, this one, like, so they were also like, hey, the government is not opposed to things in general, they just probably don't understand it. But if you if you tell them clearly, this is your benefit, and this is how it will help the people, and if you can make a clear enough case, and then you also have to have the patience to have extended dialogue, then maybe there's a chance that they will listen, right? And that's why I'm super bullish on DevCon being the Schelling point for these conversations.
We were just speaking of this. We need to bring in some central government
Yeah.
personnel, etc.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I think about.
Okay, so just closing thoughts now is on. Okay, so what can be some of the things that can unlock the Indian crypto scene to the next level? Regulation is one thing we just spoke about.
Sure. Like I am more bullish on like providing actual benefit to people. Like if you can use if you can, like, we can build products which provide access to Indian users to broader capital markets. That's one thing. Tokenization of real world assets and stuff is also other things. A lot of non-financial use cases in the public sector. What if you just want more transparency on how your municipal budgets or something are used, stuff like that. So we start adding value to people, and then we'll see some results. Overall, despite everything, I think we got a little gloomy talking about regulations, but overall, I'm super bullish on India's crypto story, right? And I think that was the main reason why I was like, okay, when I thought that there's a chance to get DevCon to India, then we were like the community rallied to actually do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to paint that gloomy picture at all, but there is so much happening here already in India. We have many of our friends coming to India who you're getting deliveries in like 3 minutes, 7 minutes. You're using UPI. Our entire life is in our phone. My banking is on my phone. Even everything is on our phone. We're interacting with commercial apps. So it's the place to be for sure. It's moving fast, and DevCon coming to India is also great for that. I think what can take the crypto story of India to the next level is something that we have been also discussing, is what use cases of this technology exist. And that's something you all should also, it's an open invitation. Please start, think about this, tweet about this, think about it publicly. What are the use cases that this technology can have in India, and use DevCon as a platform. Come prepared with all these questions. Homework karke aao. So that is definitely an open question, and it's an exciting question also, filled with opportunities, and the sky is the limit, and we can really create something that's useful, impactful, and we already have 1.4 billion people here. So if we want the next billion,
Yeah.
we have it here already. So it's just about us thinking out of the box, which I think Vitalik, by the way, has been tweeting, and really it's been lovely to read his recent tweets. He's been saying so much about how to think in a chaotic area versus a stable area. And you should read that tweet of his. Chaotic area, basically like Kali Yuga. We are in that Kali Yuga phase where everything has become conflict ridden and all of that. And he's really spoken about how to rethink our way of building towards building products that focus more on collective voice, consensus building. Don't give up on democratic things. So those are some directions in which we can think about use case. I know Denver has also been thinking about doing a use case
So
thing.
we want to launch something called a use case sort of project, Ethereum use case project, where we sort of map out all of use cases for India-specific problems. And of course, we're just going to initiate it, and then we're going to crowdsource it for people to contribute and really map out what sort of use cases make sense from an India perspective, and then that hopefully then point developers to those sort of problems, that here are problems that you should solve, right? And then once we do that, I think we'll unlock a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think 1 or 2 points from me is, one is, I think the brain drain needs to stop. talent drain, right? Like people who are building right now in the
Yeah.
existing, so these guys cannot leave, right? So I think that'll be super helpful. And then what else? Yeah, so pretty much.
Do we have time for audience
Yeah.
questions or not? Do we have time?
We have 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay. Just 1 or 2 questions if anybody wants,
Or thoughts.
or any general thoughts.
Oh, there.
Hey guys, good panel. Thank you for speaking on your thoughts about India's crypto story. On top of your head, what are some of the use cases, India specific, which you think folks should be building for the ETHMumbai Hackathon, which starts tomorrow?
For the hackathon, yeah, like anybody wants to answer? Let's like do
See,
this.
I think maybe just direction-wise we can talk about it. Off late, there's been a lot of discussions happening about financial use cases of crypto, non-financial, all the consumer, social space not working the way it should have. I think it's too early, like from my perspective, I think it's just like too early to say that yes, the non-financial use cases will not work, that crypto is not Web3, that it is nothing but just finance 2.0. I think it's too early to say. Maybe like things will evolve. We'll see how things work out, and maybe you never know, right? Like when regulations come in, it just opens up a different way. But from from some of the things that I think there's been a lot of focus has been, one has always been payments. But even when I think about payments, and I mean there are like certain things that can be very important for India, right? Like when we talk about like peer-to-peer here, we don't need it because we have UPI, understood. But when we need like cross-border, we still need it. But can we build that right now? Probably no, I don't know. Like with regulations, do you think? Because there's like a huge white space with everything that's got to do with like stable coins and payments, because we've seen that that has taken a very good adoption of late, right? Like among all the other cases, that has gone like, that's skyrocketed. Some of the other things can be, I don't know if these are, I mean, India-focused solutions, I find it a little tricky, because even when I think about RWA, which opens up like an entire gamut of things that we can build, but again, you'll think about like regulation, like, oh, should I even like think about tokenizing Indian stocks or Indian real estate or Indian, I don't know, other things.
Yeah, I think there are certain things in the non-financial domain. Like, I don't know, we already have like 300 million plus records on chain, apparently, according to some data that someone told me yesterday. So these are land records that are already on chain. There's a lot of scope in the public health sector also. Like there are people doing like collecting sensitive data, but now we have evolved tools like ZK and everything that can help bring that data on chain, so that these are like malnutrition data is very political. You will have a government tomorrow saying that I was at the other end of that, a government telling me you can't use that and we can't publish this data. I had to delete it because it was on an Excel sheet. But now you have like ZK that can help solve that at some level. So just think like totally out of there are many other domains beyond finance or supply chains or anything. I think thinking in those lines will help also.
I think, okay, first thing is that one is just from a hackathon perspective, you should try and solve problems that you are naturally interested in, right?
Yeah, from a hackathon.
That you should do. If you're thinking more about use cases and like more such serious topics, I would say think of a use case. Let's say you're thinking land records or something to do with health. You have 3 days. The first thing, if you're thinking about health, I would want you to go and visit a hospital or a public health place, right? And talk to people, exactly. And only then build, right? Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, hackathons are totally fine to build like just fun experiences for you and your friends, right? So if you can build fun consumer experiences, you can even do that, right? That could be cool stuff. Like, you know, it can be even simple problems like, you know, you set up like sort of bet markets with your friends. When you do stuff like that, you can build fun stuff like prediction markets. But that won't solve any real problems from an India perspective. It'll just be fun, and then you can think, if enough people find it a delightful experience, you can think about scaling it, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'd just like to add here is just connecting to Denver's first point where he was talking about Indians building for the world. Indians can do that because on the other side, regulations sort of like pulling us down when we focus on this. So this is not an advice or suggestion or anything, but this is my point where I feel that even when we were investing at Hash Merchant, the first few years we were thinking of like focusing on founders who build for India. And then we saw that, okay, this is probably not going anywhere because regulations are playing even a harder, you know, like it's a big challenge. Then we sort of like eased that up a little, saying that, okay, we don't just build for India, like let's look at founders who also build for the world. So the question that you asked is a little tricky because when you say what can we build for India, just like how Nidhi said and Denver said, there are so many things you can build, but can it be a use case for you right now? Can it become a business that can, you know, like have revenue going on and sustain you? That I'm not sure. Maybe it depends. Then there's, you know, that's why I think it's so important for regulations also to catch up. I'm glad that US is taking some sort of a lead, and I think we also could. So you guys should really try hard to bring the government officials for to DevCon.
Perfect. I think we're at time.
Yeah, I think we're done. Thank you so much for being a very patient audience, guys.
Yeah, thank
I know it's
you.
been a long
Thanks a
day.
lot.
Thank you.